Good evening. I'm Karen Wong, and I'm here with your evening edition of SMS Channel 8 News. This evening, we bring you a story about some groundbreaking research that's taking place at the South Math and Science Institute. Bringing you this story is our field journalist, Jay Bingaman. Jay, what can you tell us about what's going on at the South Math and Science Institute?
Yes, thank you, Karen. I am out here in front of South Math and Science Institute, where today researchers have uncovered some very interesting information about how you digest your food.
What type of research projects are happening at this institute, Jay?
There are a lot of different research projects going on here, but four in particular I'd like to share with you. The first is about how hydrochloric acid and pepsin both influence the digestion of proteins in your stomach.
What Chemicals Really Digest Your Food? By Mark, Robert, and Cole.
Our claim is pepsin and hydrochloric acid need to be together to get the best result for digesting food.
What we need is one test tube with pepsin, one test tube with hydrochloric acid, one test tube with pepsin and hydrochloric acid, one test tube with water, 4 pieces of egg, triple beam balance scale, and a cup.
The independent variable for our experiment is what chemicals we put the egg into.
The dependent variable is how the mass of the eggs changed. The controlled variable is the environment that we tested it in, how long we tested them, and how we masked the difference in the egg.
The masses of the egg before are shown here. For water, it was 1.4 grams. For hydrochloric acid, it was 1.5 grams. For pepsin, it was 2.0 grams. And for acid and pepsin together, it was 1.8 grams.
The masses after sitting in the test tubes was 1.4 grams for water, 1.3 grams for acid, 2.2 grams for pepsin, and 1.2 grams for acid and pepsin.
The total difference for water, it was 0. The acid subtracted 0.2 grams, the pepsin added 0.2 grams, and acid and pepsin together subtracted 0.6 grams.
Hydrochloric acid and pepsin are what really digest proteins.
Well, what other types of research are going on at this institute, and how does it influence our views on digestion?
Yes, the second experiment that researchers are performing here has to do with how you chew your food and how that affects the digestion of proteins in your stomach.
How eggs react to stomach acid based on size. By Emily, Miranda, Ryan, and Alex. We are asking the question, how does the size of the egg affect digestion? We are asking this question by chopping eggs into different sized chunks.
On the first day of the experiment, we did the initial measuring and massing of the egg and liquids.
You can see in the table on the right how many times we chopped each pieces. This is our data table. Look at the legend to see the egg in the graph. The larger the number of chops, the easier the egg, the more the egg digests.
When we saw the results of our egg test and massed the remaining egg, we found that the egg we chopped the most, 9 times, was digested the most, a decrease of 81%. The unchewed egg, as if you were choking, was digested the least amount, losing only 40% of its mass. Surface area is the amount of an item's surface that is exposed to the air. This relates to our experiment because the more times you chew, the more surface area is becoming exposed so that the gastric juices can touch it and digest it. Upon doing research on the relationship between the surface area of the food, we found that the more surface area of the food is exposed, the more efficient the breaking down and absorption of nutrients will be. This is important because the individual nutrient cells need to be extracted to be transported to various parts of the body via the bloodstream. The more of the food's surface is exposed to the gastric fluid, the faster it breaks down. This means we can get the nutrients we need, and that is why we chew.
That's amazing. Now we have scientific evidence about why you are supposed to chew your food. What else do you have to share with us, Jay, from your news report location?
Researchers are also demonstrating how this pepsin and the hydrochloric acid only really participate in digestion proteins, not in other foods like starches or fats.
Digestion of Different Foods by Colleen, Sal, Shri, and Talia.
Do proteins, carbohydrates, and fats digest differently?
We put 5 milliliters of pepsin and 5 milliliters of hydrochloric acid into 3 test tubes. In the test tubes, we put about 2 grams of egg in one, 2 grams of pasta in another, and 2 grams of butter in the third. We measured the mass of the foods before they went into the juices, and then we put the foods into the test tubes for 24 hours. Then we took out the foods and masked them. We recorded the percent of change. Our independent variables were the foods, egg, butter, and pasta. Our dependent variables was how the mass of the food changed, percentage changed. Our controlled variables were the same amount of pepsin and hydrochloric acid and the same type of test tube and the same amount of time in the acids.
Protein, carbohydrates, and fats do digest differently.
The egg's mass went down by 26%, the pasta's mass went down by 11%, and the butter's mass went down by 38%.
The butter's percent of change was not accurate because, as you can see, some butter was stuck in the tube. Therefore, we cannot accurately compare fats to the other foods.
The reason the egg broke down the fastest was because protein is mainly digested by pepsin, which is found in the stomach, while carbs are broken down by enzymes like salivary amylase, pancreatic amylase, and maltose, which are found in the mouth. Since the main enzymes that break down carbs we do not have in the tubes, the eggs broke down faster because protein is mainly broken down by pepsin. The butter results were not accurate enough to deduce anything.
Thank you for sharing that story with us. I believe you have one last story to share with our audience tonight.
The last experiment looks at the stomach muscles and shows the role that the stomach muscles have in helping the proteins digest with the gastric juices. If you were to look at the outside covering of the stomach, you would see that the walls of the stomach are lined with muscles. These muscles probably have a purpose in digestion. To demonstrate this purpose, I'm setting up an experiment. I've taken 2 Ziploc bags and labeled one, "Do Not Touch." The other Ziploc bag I've labeled, "Go ahead and touch this one." Using an electronic balance, I have weighed out 2 pieces of egg, one at a time, and placed each one in each of the bags. Using 2 graduated cylinders, I have carefully measured out 2 samples of hydrochloric acid that are 5 milliliters each. I have added to the hydrochloric acid 5 milliliters of pepsin. This mixture will represent our gastric juices in the stomach. Each plastic bag will have 10 milliliters of this gastric juice added to it. I've hung each bag in the back of the classroom so that students can see them during the course of the day. While the students worked on their lab, they were also permitted to come over and handle the bag that said "Go ahead and touch." This bag is simulating the stomach that has muscles on its walls. Each time the student would squeeze or push on the food particles, it's like the muscles in your stomach contracting. As you can see at the end of the experiment, the bag that has been handled has egg that is broken up considerably more. Using an electronic balance and a screen to separate the egg from the liquid, we can see exactly how much of the egg was digested in each situation. Subtracting the new mass from the old mass shows us how much of the egg has been digested. The egg that was not touched only digested 0.19 grams of egg. The egg that had been handled, on the other hand, digested a total of 1.26 grams. This is 10 times as much digestion occurring when the egg had been squeezed in the bag. Without the muscles on the walls of our stomach, we would not be able to digest food quite the way we do now. Those muscles on the wall help break up the food even farther and help grind the chemicals that are needed to digest the egg deeper into the material.
Thank you, Jay, for sharing those stories about that groundbreaking research about digestion with our audience tonight. We appreciate you tuning in, and we hope that you have a good night. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to fill out your post-lab sheet.